It's difficult sometimes when you're looking at what's going on in the country and you're isolated and you wonder if you've got it right. So I'm here to tell you that anybody who's watching this video has got it right. What you see unfolding is just what you're thinking. It's a sign of utter neglect for the tax-paying British public and for those who don't pay taxes now, for the disabled and those even going to school. Everyone's affected by the fact that this country is being neglected. We used to be the biggest steel stockholders in the world, and I know this because I lived in Blackburn, where Walker Steel was, owned by the famous Walker brothers who put Blackburn Rovers on the map. They used to have a man in those days on a bicycle to go around taking messages from one charge hand to the other. The place was so big, it was huge. I sold advertising for a local newspaper at the time, and I often called to see Jack and Fred. Ironically, they knew my dad and asked my dad if they wanted to go into business with him. My dad said no and stayed loyal to his small but not very profitable family business, haulage for the cotton mills. And he said, no, I'll stick with my dad. He stuck with his own father, who gave him bad advice. He should have gone with Jack and Fred, I think. At that time, Jack and Fred were going around Blackburn, collecting scrap from cotton mills. That's how they knew my dad. He was a lorry driver for the mills, you know, self-employed. And they had a motorbike and sidecar. And they grew to be the finest and largest steel stockholders in the world, enough to buy football clubs. Actually, Fred Walker never stopped using the Golden Cup in Lower Darwen for his pint. He went there in his Rolls Royce and he was a man of the people. Now, these sort of entrepreneurs have now disappeared because Blackburn Rovers is owned by, I think it's an Indian conglomerate. Things get moved about, don't they? What we used to see as national treasures are no longer national. They're owned by faceless footprints of people like BlackRock and Vanguard, who are just investment umbrellas for just about everything we need. We've gone from being the finest manufacturers of steel in the world to not making any. And as Nigel Farage, sorry to bring his name up, but he was the man that said it, when Tata Steel first came to the UK, he said the trouble is, once it ceases to be profitable, they'll disappear with all the profit. And that's just what's happened now. They're going, they're off. They're leaving the country because it's unsustainable to live here anymore if you want to make money, because of the tax burden on small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses and corporations. They're killing the country. You haven't got it wrong. This is what this government is doing. Several reasons. They're clueless and they want it. Keir Starmer doesn't look at us as a country. Keir Starmer looks at us as a tax farm where he can draw money from the ones paying in and give it to whatever cause is favourite for him at the moment, that pushes him further forward on the world stage of globalism. But obviously we are fighting back, and I do not support the Reform Party blindly. I support them because they're the furthest forward in the race. And people will have their own favourites of personalities involved. But you have to recognise what is our biggest problem, and that is the Labour government. We used to be a country that was proud to be British. We used to make British things. The manufacturing seal of safety that you get on hot water bottles and panels of glass assured people that they were buying the right product. We were something to live up to. We've got the finest fishing ground in the world. Everybody knows that cold water fish are tastier and usually better produced. And we've now sold our soul to Europe because the factory ships come into our waters and we haven't done anything about the changes that we could have made through Brexit. In fact, it's worse than you think, because international fishing licences have been, about 100 of them, gifted to foreign vessels, particularly French vessels, whilst they're still charging English and British fishing boats between £70,000 and £100,000 to get one. That's how far we've slipped down. We can't blame Keir Starmer for that, because that was actually the Tory government who didn't do as much as they could for the withdrawal agreement. I mean, let's face it, we did have a minister at the time, a female, who said she didn't have time to read the withdrawal agreement from the European Union because she was busy with a nativity play. I think that's called getting your priorities wrong. So we have been let down, abandoned and betrayed by more than one party. They are the same, really. You couldn't get rice paper between them. And now, currently, the head of the Uni Party is Keir Starmer, who's basically been able to mop up all the good work that the former Tory party, who are not Conservative, have laid out before him. It's a bit like buying a house that's been being done up and somebody's put all the groundworks in, so you just have to do the decorating. That's the position that people have put Keir Starmer in. So much as I despise the man because of what he's doing to the country, I can't totally blame him for where we sit. We've got our own gas, we've got our own oil, we've got our own fish, we've got our own agriculture. Why are we in this position? Why are we treating farmers the way we're treating them? They are the life's blood of this country. We could actually be more self-sufficient than most other countries in the world because we've got a humongous coastline. We have some of the best climates for growing things. It's not very good for holidaymakers because you can tend to get wet through, but you only have to look at an English garden in the summer months after a sudden rain shower and smell the roses and watch the grass come through to see that we are quite capable of nurturing our own people and looking after them. There's something missing though, isn't there? Because it's not happening. So what's missing? It's called the political will to do it. There's no political will to look after us. They're sapping the life's blood out of everything. Even the noble gesture from Rupert Lowe to hold an inquiry into the grooming gangs is already scuppered before it starts with the Labour government. The Labour government has already denied access to a true inquiry. To be fair, Maggie Oliver doesn't want one. Maggie Oliver says it's pointless. We know what's going wrong. What we want is a judicial review. But without statutory powers that can only be afforded from a government, where is any sort of inquiry actually going? Because they cannot enforce people to the witness box. They've no powers. That's your Labour government. That's Labour that's done that. They're in now. They cripple everything we try to do. And I think what I see is a deliberate attempt to demoralise us. Not just to demoralise us in our well-being, but in our belief system. You've got school teachers cancelling Easter to celebrate it as a Christian festival. We all know we get time off and kids are more interested in the chocolate Easter eggs. But at the end of the day, we have to sit here and watch our leaders take to social media congratulating every other religion on what's going on in their calendar year. And we have to look here now while the education system is infiltrated with activists. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. The education system has been captured by people who want to lead our children away from what we stand for. And what we stand for, we've been a very open society. We've welcomed people from every country on the earth. And all we're really asking, and when I say we, I mean people watching me now, all we're really asking is respect us. Join in. Don't set up against us. Don't start using our generosity as some tool to undo everything we've built up. Because I won't accept that. I can't accept it because it's not how I've been brought up. I was brought up in a Christian household, but to follow my own belief system. I've never pushed my religion on anyone else. I don't openly talk about it, and I'm not really bothered what you think about how I feel, as long as I'm allowed to feel this way and say what I think. But I see us crushed. And when I watch Muslim clerics from Arabian countries who are rich in oil, well-run countries like the United Arab Emirates and other places where their infrastructure is top-notch, and if you are in that country, you're either there because you were born there, in which case the system looks after you, or you're there because you've something to contribute. You're coming there because you're an architect or a builder, or you're coming from China because you're a lowly paid worker, but you're coming there to contribute. You are only there because you give them something, and they give you back an infrastructure to work in. Now, I don't particularly want to live in a hot desert state. I don't want to live anywhere where you rely on bottled water or where you rely on cloud seeding to cool you down. No thanks. I prefer my own climate, my own country, my own people, and we're all so different in this country. We're a tapestry of buy gum from Yorkshire and thou what the same from Lancashire. And then we've got the Brummies. We're all so different, but we are the same. And we're now being picked apart by our own people. We're told we're not good enough. There's literally jobs advertised where you would do worse off in an interview because of your skin colour, because you're white. That cannot be right, and that cannot be allowed to go on. But we are here to save ourselves. I'm here to save me. I'm not expecting any political party to save me, because I never relied on any political party to put all the good stuff in my life that I now have. So I'm certainly not going to rely on you for anything else. But what I am sensible enough to do is realise that there is actually a way we can fight back, and that is to make sure that the people who voted this government in, who voted Labour in, actually realise what they've done now. Because what Labour had to offer, which is a basic form of Marxism, was something that a bit of a pipe dream that nobody in this country has ever lived under. It's never actually come to fruition, so nobody really knows what it's like once it unfolds. They've not lived in it. So young people are easily persuaded into thinking, this is great, everyone treated equal. But now it's unfolding, and people realise this business of treating equal doesn't seem to include our politicians. It doesn't include them at all. They've just had their wage rise. The pensions are protected, their expenses are enormous, the food is discounted, as is the travel, and they're basically living, 650 of them, in a little bubble of safety that we will never ever have the benefit of. And meanwhile, we're left to pick up extensive tariffs on food, on fuel, on energy, on every single thing we use. They're even trying to crush our air travel. And the way we fight back is we don't put up with it. And obviously, hopefully, in this by-election in Runcorn, Labour lose a seat. That's a big kick in the pants for Keir Starmer if that happens. Goodbye Labour. You've only been in 6 months. People should be clamouring for more. That's what should be happening, and that's what people are missing. Labour have just come in. It's a new brush, sweeping clean. Think back to when Tony Blair got in. Love him or hate him, initially everybody thought it was good because he had all Maggie Thatcher's money to spend, and he did a lot of things that I never noticed. I thought the country was all right because I didn't take enough notice of politics, and that's how most people are. So when you think most people now are suffering, it's bad enough being in our position, suffering where you tried to avoid it, but imagine suffering when you voted them in. What must those people feel like now? Because they are the disabled, they are the school teachers, they are the people working in the NHS where jobs are going to go. What must they feel like? It's strange, but they could all almost become an ally in this fight to get something back. And whatever is on offer will not be perfect. It will be flawed. We have no choice in that because it's always flawed, which is why I've never joined a political party. But what I'm determined to do is, while I sit here, I will do two things. I will explain what is happening the best I can for people who don't understand it, because that's more important than anything to me. I will not be bought by any one person or party. I am not interested. I am my own person with a passive income, and I do not want anything from this. I do not want to be an MP. I don't want to be a councillor. I don't want to be anything. I just want to take to social media, do what I do, and hope that somebody watching this benefits from it. And the biggest benefit you can get today is knowing that you've got it right. Whatever you're feeling when you go and switch that kettle on and make yourself a sandwich and sit down with a cup of tea. Personally, I'm having some homemade cake, which is rather good. Sit down and know you've got it right. You've got it right. Yes, what you see before you is a country being crushed and you're underneath it. It's not a conspiracy theory. You haven't got it wrong. It's actually happening, and that's why people are fighting back.